compare and contrast, compare and contrast. You hear these mantras all the time from staff in academia and trying to impart this onto you. So what do we mean by comparing and contrasting? How do you compare your findings to the findings from the literature? And fundamentally, this is what has to come out in the discussion. So the key things to think about is this: you are comparing what you have found to what other studies have found. And in one of the previous videos in this section on the discussion, which is about veracity of the findings, you want to be making the comparison to literature that is only relevant to this study. So you don't want to be trying to make comparisons to studies that aren't relevant, that are from different population groups or different findings or different techniques. The other thing you've got to think about is you're not providing a detailed critique of each and every study. It is not a literature review. So in a literature review, which is something you will do in other modules and other walks of life in science and academia, you do provide a critique. You actually pull apart the studies and you explain why there are differences between populations or sampling strategies or statistical approaches. What you are doing here is you're really trying to give a very broad contextual overview about why there are similarities between the findings that you've got and the findings of the literature. And to a degree, you are going to be constrained by the word count that you're working in. But don't be frightened to show studies with differing results. So it might be that, crikey, I found this, and actually the majority, I found a study here that's showing something different. Well, why are they showing something different? And is it that everybody else is showing something different, or every other study is showing something different compared to you? And if they are, show multiple studies to do that. You then want to kind of give a critique, a very brief critique, which is what we're going to refer to in another video, as to why there are possible differences. But the key point here is you are not critiquing the entire article. So you are simply going to provide some evidence that there is a difference between your study or a similarity between your study and the literature. Okay. So very briefly, we'll just see this in. So we're in the discussion, and there are many examples that we can see in this discussion here, some which we've seen in other videos. But for example, here, confounding issue in the work of Sue was the choice of dynamometer. So it's just giving a confounding issue. It's saying here, Sue applied minimal calibration control. Previous works, Riti Diaz, have applied a similar methodology. So you see the taxonomy, the language is also allowing us to explain that there are similarities and dissimilar results. Possible explanations for this lie in the mode of action. So they're comparing to Sue, Ines, Clark and Clark. And down here, for example, under RP conditions, there is evidence for less local muscular fatigue, leading to a reduced level of neuromuscular fatigue. It's Folland and Williams. So it's just allowing us to compare and contrast. We're not critiquing those studies, we're not pulling them apart. We're using them to reinforce our conclusions or reject our conclusions.